Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the first bite-sized branding of 2022. We made it. We made it through lockdowns, through COVIDs, through everybody's parties getting cancelled.
Avoiding COVID.
Yeah, that's it. My own COVID experiences. We are here. And this is our first Thursday show. So hopefully people are going to like the new time slot. People were saying that Friday was a little bit hard because obviously they're wrapping up the week. And we love the idea of people just tuning in as they shut down. But Thursday looks like a much better option. Hopefully everyone's going to enjoy it. They're going to be able to tune in and catch the show. If not, obviously they're always recorded and posted straight up after the show is finished. So please feel free to check them out and comment and share. We had some great people feeding into us last year towards the end there, and we had some great shows with some real engagement. And we love hearing from you guys. We love hearing what you say and any of your questions. We're happy to always just yell them out during the show and answer them. As always, Grant, my partner in crime. Thanks for joining us, mate. It's a pleasure to have you again, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to everybody.
Awesome. I think while you're talking, let's just throw it straight to you. Tell everybody what the show's about. Now, there is a little bit of a delay for Grant because he is currently in South Africa. So
this connection is getting worse for me. I don't know if you can hear me, but basically,
yeah, perfectly.
I'm going to say welcome. My name is Grant Tom, and I'm the head fire starter. And Bernard is freezing and moving and uttering and moving around, and he tells me he can hear me, so I'm just going to butt in when I can. But basically, welcome to the show. And bite-sized branding is all about, taking a subject and bundling it by two mavericks who are traditional in their methods of advertising, marketing, and advertising, but at the same time have got a different viewpoint on what we do. So on the show of bite-sized branding, we try and find alternative methods, alternative thoughts, and sometimes it turns into a little bit of a heated confrontational debate, but at the same time, it's complementary with the view of giving clients the very best success. So welcome to the show. And today we're going to do things a little bit slower, a little bit different. But by next week, we're going to pick it up. But yeah, new time slot. So let's see what Thursday brings. At the moment, the connection's doing a little bit of this.
You got some dancing connection over there. Awesome, Grant. Thank you for introducing the show as always. We do have some topics today just to kind of get things started and people into the groove of things. We want to have a bit of a laugh, have a bit of fun with it. And in saying that, we've got 5 minutes to unbundle it as always. Grant, I'm going to assume you're ready because what other choice do I have? And we're going to start off with a fun concept. Grant said, "Hey man, let's have a little bit of fun with this. Let's vent a little bit and talk about some ridiculously fun or funny experiences we've had with some clients." And I said, "Sure, why not? We all like to share a little bit of funny experiences." So, Grant, mate, kick it off. Would love to hear some of your ridiculous experiences.
So I've had some of the most crazy experiences. So let's hit the clock.
Go.
Are we on?
Yes.
We are frozen.
Oh, South Africa has a great delay. I'm going to send him a message.
All right, so already 20 seconds gone. Right, here we go. So basically, experience number one was I was having a meeting. And, back in the days, we didn't have computers and stuff. We had filofaxes, those filofaxes with the diary, with the pages all in. And this guy had this very big filofax with lots of pages. And he brought me into this boardroom, but it was one of these very big boardroom tables, very wide, very long. And so he put his filofax on the table. He went out and he just said, take a seat. And then as he came in, he came on the opposite side of the table and he said, flick me the filofax. And I didn't realize they had polished the table so smooth. So I flicked the filofax, but it went so smoothly that it just flew off the table and all his pages flew out, and it was like real embarrassing for a first time meeting. So that's one of three embarrassing
Oh,
experiences that
God.
I am aware of. Bernard, yourself?
Oh man, I could definitely not say that I've ever experienced that. I think the one similar kind of funny experience that I had is there was a time where I used to walk around with a notepad that was made up of recycled pages. So like I'd print something on one side, and then instead of throwing them out, I'd cut it in half and use them as little
Yeah.
A5s. Because I hate just throwing out good things. You know what I mean? Like that paper, it's wasteful. Don't want to throw it out. Um, but I don't know if you ever, in the midst of a conversation, get a little bit bored, and especially
Yeah.
on a phone conversation, and just doodle, which I have grown out of that habit of doodling. Uh, but I once left my notepad at a client office with a bunch of doodles in it, all in the back half of the book. So most of the book was doodles because obviously it was reused paper. So they had a good fun just flicking through all my doodles and sent me a couple of photos and said, "Oh, this is a nice one, and this is a nice." I'm like, "Mate, just stop looking through my book. I'll come and pick it up from you tomorrow." That was probably my funny book related experience. Just be careful what you doodle. That's what I would
Yeah.
say.
Be careful what you do. So my second crazy experience was this is still in the days before computers. So, I did an artwork. So I did an airbrush, did some marker work, and I had to work through the night to get it ready for production first thing in the morning, 8 o'clock. And I think I must have worked till about 3 a.m. in the morning. It looked amazing. So I went home, I had a bit of a sleep, but then the rain settled in. And I didn't realize in my first studio that where I placed it, there was a leak in the roof, and it started to drip on the artwork. And by the time I got there, it was that soft paper. It had made a hole in the artwork. And as this production guy walked in at 8 o'clock, I looked at him through the hole of the artwork, like we've got a problem, and was I frustrated. But anyway, I made a plan, but I had to ask for more time. But he walked in, and there he was looking at me, and I just had a hole in the artwork. So that was ridiculous.
That's great. I love that one. I got a similar actually story about tools and then something happening and you going, "Oh God, what have I done? What has happened?" I remember this is a college story actually. And funnily enough, I pulled out this device the other day and I can see that the long lasting effects now have finally set in. But was running to college, was running late. My dad said, "Don't worry, I'll drive you to college." And I'm like, "Great, thanks, Dad." I have everything in my hand, my bag, my laptop, all this kind of stuff. Get to the top of the stairs, misstep, bag comes flying out of my hands, goes toppling down the stairs. I'm like, "Oh God, late was the least of my worries now." I pick my bag up, I get into my dad's car, I sit down, I put the bag down. My dad goes, "Is your laptop okay?" I go, "Dad, I don't even want to look. Just get me into college and I'll take care of it when I get there." Now that laptop was still working for about 12 years, and I just pulled it out, and now the chassis is all bowed and expanded. I don't know what's going on inside, but it's not kosher. But that would be my tools experience where it just didn't go right. Yeah.
So I'll bring the one home because we're gonna get cancelled by the clock any second now.
Oh, where's
So
that music?
we blew the clock on the first show, on the first topic. Can you believe it?
No hope.
So one of
no
my
hope.
crazy experiences was I went to a presentation, and I normally would open the back door and I'll put my briefcase and my presentation down like I do every single time. And I drove off to the client. I buzzed, opened the gate, a big gate. I drove in, the gate closed. I parked the car. I got out. I put my jacket on. I closed the door, opened the back door, and I reach in, and I'm like, "There's no briefcase and there's no layout." I left it all at the office. So I had to go into reception, and I had to now ask them to come into the meeting and then tell them that I don't actually have the work with me. So can you please let me out? I'll go straight back to the office to fetch it. Then I'll come straight back. I'm like, "No, but you can't just sneak off, you."
I've been like, you never know what a client's going to ask for. And there have been times where I go into a meeting and they're like, oh, could you show me something that looked like something that, I'm like, mate, I don't have my stuff with me. I didn't cart my entire office with me. So I started carrying around this like little tablet that I could like log into my computer from anywhere as long as I had an internet connection. I used to carry this little thing everywhere I went, just in case somebody asked, can I see? And I'd be like, sure, no problem. Here it is. My backup plan,
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's gold. Oh, that was great. That was a fun way to start off the show.
So those just, we all have ridiculous experiences, and I think that it's fine to have a ridiculous experience. It's frustrating at the time, but that's what marketing's all about. It's about adapting. It's about adjusting. It's not about giving up or saying this is not for you. Unfortunately, things just happen in marketing, and you know what? You've just got to make a plan and adjust.
That's it. And that's what we're masters of. We're masters of agility. The market changes, we change, and we forget our stuff and we make it work. That's how we do it.
Yeah, you got to busk.
I like that. Awesome.
All right, fantastic. So, what is topic number 2?
Well, coming into 2022, all about planning, all about thinking about what is not necessarily what is the next biggest thing, but how to be ready for the year ahead. I thought it'd be good to kind of bring that up and talk about how do you flex your marketing muscle and make sure that you're pointing in the right direction, especially going into a new year. And how do you allocate that time and budget and resources to make sure you have the best year yet? Which shouldn't be hard because the last 2 years haven't been spectacular. So not setting a high bar. You ready to go, Grant?
Yeah, I'm going to start it. So hit the clock there, Bernard.
Oh, God, I'm not getting it today, am I? I'm out of practice.
Oh, you're killing me. Here we go.
There we go.
Fantastic. So, this is my simple approach to 2022. You've got to think back to 100 years ago when it was 1920 or the 1920s. It was known as the Roaring 20s because that was when people were changing trends, changing eras, changing methodology on how to live. So basically, the way I see it is that we're back in the 20s again, and this is the decade that we've just got to tear up the rule book and we've got to make new rules. But with the last 2 years really being crap, to say the least, we've really got to now get in the game and rip it up and start making it work. So I say it's the Roaring 20s of the new century, and this is the decade that we've got to perform and make it come together. So this is where I look at it. So what do you think is the start of marketing plans and business plans?
Yeah, I love that. I think that's a great way to look at it. Why not look at it as the start of the new Roaring 20s, the new century? And I think to do that effectively, it's all about how do you plan it. And there are so many different channels within marketing. As soon as you put that word out there and you say, oh, I probably should start marketing in my business, or I should start doing X more effectively in my business, every single person's going to come your way and they're going to say, do this. This is the right channel. Do this. This is the right channel. But what you're going to find is that most agencies will have their niche that they will say is the most effective channel. And that's really hard being a business owner to be able to discern the difference between one channel and another. And especially when you really want to be everywhere. You want to be as synonymous as you can possibly be when you're trying to build a beautiful brand. And so the best way I feel for you to, for anyone to approach it is, first thing to do is figure out what your budget is. And that would be the budget for the year. At minimum, you should be thinking until the end of the year. What is your marketing budget to the end of the year that you would be willing to spend or invest month on month? And then the second thing is, what are your targets? Who are the people you want to be talking to, and how many of them do you want to be talking to, and how effectively do you want to be engaging them? I would do that before looking at necessarily what channels and what people you'll be talking to in which parts of the marketing industry. Doing Google ads versus doing SEO versus doing Facebook versus doing content versus redoing your website, etc., etc., etc. Create a baseline that you can build that off and create a measurement, a KPI that you go, now I know it's being successful. If you do those two effectively, by the time you start approaching all these different suppliers or a single supplier that can give you that guidance, you'll know exactly how to divide up your budget in order to then use a multi-channel approach. And I think everybody should be considering a multi-channel approach. And probably the highlight of that is the recent privacy changes that have now affected the way that data is used with Google Ads and Facebook ads, and how that then integrates into SEO and search components. The way that we use data and have leveraged data in the past has definitely changed. And maybe data or targeting is not going to be the most effective way for you to attract the right customer base this year. Or maybe it's not fully investing in there. It's a blended approach. And I think blended is the best way, especially when you don't control the environment. And what I mean by that is your Facebooks and your Googles and your social media platforms, you don't own those platforms. So they change the rules, they change your rules of doing business. So make sure you have a multi-channel approach that brings attention to your brand, not to the channel.
Yeah.
So yeah, a bit in there, but hopefully that gives you a little bit of planning, a little bit of thinking that you can take to the market.
So just to bring it home in the last minute, what I would do is I love mind mapping. And so what you need to do is get a big piece of paper or a whiteboard, get 3 different color markers. And the first one, you write down your wish list of all the things you want to achieve, all the things you want to do, all the things that you would love for your business to be. Okay. The second marker is you go again and you go and you say, well, work with what you've got. Write down what do you have and where do you have it. So therefore you can sort of overlay the two as to what your wish list was as to what you've got. And then the third marker is you take the platforms and the channels that you either know where your customer is at or your market that you'd like to be at or you like to master. And you put, and then you find the gaps. And from that, you then decide, you start to rub things out that are not realistic. And then you start to dig into where you think you can draw the shortest lines in order to make sure that this is the year that you can start getting the benefits of going forward and building your success without going crazy and missing the mark completely. So there, I killed the time. We ended it, but that was how I would.
That is phenomenal. And that's a great way of wrapping into what I was saying and adds that another level of kind of insight and strategy to it. So the tool is, first thing you write is where you want to be.
Yep.
Second thing you write is your wish list. The second thing is the resources you have, what you can action. And the third thing is the gaps that sit in between.
No, well, choose the platform. Choose the communication.
The channel, the channel. And then by having those 3, you'll discover the gaps. I love that.
And then cross off what is too far or too far apart from a line. If the lines are too long, it means, so you've got to be realistic. If you're drawing these long joining lines, you've got to look like it's attainable. If you're not drawing your markers all in the same cluster and you got them all over the show, you are going to have a tough time. You've got to think like you've got to overlay. You really got to lay on. And then ultimately, you've got to be the business owner, and you've got to take that rubbing out tool, and you've got to just rub out what is not realistic and be harsh on yourself, because if you're not, the marketplace will be harsh on you or your budget will be harsh on you. So be realistic.
That's brilliant. That really brings it home. That really brings it home. And not only that, it actually tees into our next segue into our next subject, which is all about how do you take that budget, even if you only have a small budget, and use it as effectively as possible by leveraging what you may have already. That just slotted in perfectly with how you do that. And the way you can figure that out is by starting with this mind map. So once you got your mind map done, you figured out what you got. Yes, it might have been tough for you last year and you might have a small budget. How do you think it is best to approach that small budget and making it as effective as possible? Ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
Okay.
So let me start off by saying that you don't always need a big budget. Okay. Not, everyone thinks, oh, I need a big budget to do this, or I need a big budget to do that. So next year I'll have more money. There's no such time as the present to start marketing.
Yeah.
If you've got a small budget, choose a lane that works for you or works where your customers are at. And then what you need to do is find a method which I call hooks. That is either a value proposition, it's an offering, or it's a graphic or something that people identify you with, so that when they see you, because you must remember, consistency is the hidden secret to marketing. If you are consistent, people will remember you, because they've got to see you 22 times before they will remember you. They're going to touch you 7 times before they're going to ask for a quote. And only then may they touch you. And if they've had a great experience, they'll ask for more and tell their friends. If not, they won't ask for more and they'll tell more friends how crap you were. So that's basically how you've got to look at it. Find your lane and be consistent, and choose that, and just stay on it and let you just do it. Don't delegate it. You do it.
Master it. I like that. Like, even I can relate that to a story just today that I had a meeting with somebody. Their target market are CEO, business owners for their establishment that they have. And excuse me. And they don't have a presence on LinkedIn. And I said, why don't you focus on mastering LinkedIn? Targeting and focusing on the kind of business owners that you want to be talking to, connecting with them, offering them something of value, offering them a taste of the experience, and just master that channel, because that's where they are already. So once you master that channel, before you start throwing money into different channels and throwing money into social media, you don't have a huge budget. That is a great way of approaching it. They stay in their lane, they master that channel, they make it highly targeted, and then they're able actually to establish a baseline as well. Now they know how effective it is, because they've actually invested into the channel well. Rather than dipping your toe into multiple channels, sometimes it's better to master one and do it highly effectively. And that value proposition. Most people don't think of a value proposition. They just go out and start connecting and talking to people. And because they're not adding any value, people switch off straight away. And, you know, it's that thing that Grant always says. What's that thing that you always say?
Edutainment. You need a little bit of edutainment.
That's it. Just a little entertainment will get you across the line.
You know, one of the things that I look at is that you need a little bit of imagination, and you must sort of get your team around you. It's not driven by one person. Try and come together and have like a brainstorm as to how you'd like to be identified, or how you'd like to be remembered, or what other things have worked for your team through other marketing that you can actually just copy and change to just look yourself. You don't have to copy someone else's headline, but you know, you might find that they've said something quite controversial that you're quite happy to be at, or you know, you can be quite calm and just call to action and say, come on, we've got 10 days to have this killer special, or you can have red door day, you know, type of stuff, and every Tuesday of the month is a red door day or something. You just got to find little things that get people to remember you by, that want to know that they can work with you on those particular days, or offers or specials or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the one thing that seems to be pretty consistent with a lot of people is analysis paralysis. They just keep toiling over and over and over and over and over and over again. And it comes back to that adage, the only wrong action is no action. You're better to try something and get it wrong and learn from it than to try nothing and then wonder why nothing changes. And I think a lot of people are kind of stuck in that space. Sorry?
Well, look at us in this show, for example. You know, we started where we were recording the show. Then we went on to the show where it was live, and we were like deer with headlights in the road, so to speak. Now you look at us, and all these challenges happen, and we just go with it. But at the end of the day, if you're not out there trying and you're not putting it together, you don't get good at something. And I'm really loving the show now. I love the format. I love the concept. I love the subject matter. And I love the way we're changing up. And especially I love our guests that come on board and teach us different things.
100%. And you know what? Like to add to that, it's actually growing into an event. We're having a road show across the east side of Australia. That was all formed because of this show. So
that's right. Yeah, well, to bring that home, you know, we're going to start making it a live event, and we're trying to do it in interactive spaces where people can come together, like, for example, in a car showroom or something like that, so you can experience the cars, you can experience us. We're going to have a little bit of a bite and eat, and we're going to talk marketing, we're going to talk business, we're going to talk branding. You know, it's all about not looking at how empty your glass is, but how full your glass is, because every single business has an opportunity to grow, prosper, and build a brand that is memorable. Because even though it's competitive out there, there's enough space for everyone to find a niche and to make their value come home again and again. And I love competition, because competition breeds excellence.
Yes, I love it. I love it. And if you're ever looking to understand whether or not your business model is a good model, it's great when somebody copies it. You can't get any better sign off than when somebody else goes, "That's a great idea. Let me copy that." You know, cool.
And another part of that, the best time people talk about a brand. The best time people talk about a brand is when you leave the room. When you leave the room, people talk about you. That's the best compliment. So,
yes, awesome. A lot of what do they call those things? A lot of sayings that were thrown out in there. A lot of
thought-provoking.
Yeah,
thought-provoking.
We're so mindful and deep. You know,
deep. We are experienced.
But yes, keep an eye out for it. We're going to have way more guests this year. We're going to be we're going to aim for every show to have a guest. That's going to be our target this year. Yeah, let's do it.
Absolutely fantastic. Well, anyway, I can't believe that these 3 segments have gone by so quickly that we're already at the end of the show.
Yeah. But you know what that means? Everyone can prepare for the next show. Get ready, guys. This is going to be another show. That's it. If you have guests that you'd like us to feature, or if you would like to feature on the show, please reach out to us and we'll get you in the slot. We have people we're going to be locking in for the next couple of months. It's the 1st and 3rd Thursday of every month from 4:00. As always, like, comment, share. Please send your feedback. We're always excited to hear from you guys. And give us topics. If you want something controversial in the show, you hear about some changes happening with regulation or new developments in the industry. We did one about crypto and
we had great response to the crypto one.
Yeah.
Bitcoin and blockchain.
And blockchain, that was the other one that I forgot. So whether it's new technology or controversial questions, we're always open to unbundle it on the show. Grant, thank you very much as always, coming in from South Africa. He's a real trooper. He's working on 24-hour days now. He doesn't go to sleep.
And the next show, not the next show, the show thereafterwards will be from London. So yeah, Look out.
Awesome, man. How come I wasn't invited? I feel like I'm going to be in this same lounge every time.
Show, what can I say?
So
you must start traveling more.
Let's find some guests out in South Africa, in London as well. Let's start featuring some people where you're at. I've had a couple of side-by-side shows, so let's do the same with you.
Yeah, let's do that. Absolutely.
Awesome. And to everyone that was watching, thank you very much for joining us as always, and we'll catch you on the next show.
Cheers, everyone.